Hi, welcome back to another video. In today's video, we will look at the MacBook Pro 14-inch. This is the base model M1 Pro. This has 8-core CPU and 14-core GPU. It has 16GB RAM and 512GB SSD. This was released in October 2021. I've been using this device for a very long time. So let's get straight to the key points of the video. So let's start off with dimensions. This is a pretty light and sleek laptop, coming in around 1.6 kg. It fits easily in any backpack. Going around for the build quality. After using this mostly every day, there are minor scratches and dents on the body, but nothing major. The body has held up well. The build quality is pretty good, and the keyboard and the chassis have very little flex. Now let's talk about ports. It has mostly the perfect selection of ports, but coming from a Windows laptop, having a USB port would have been great. Otherwise, the 3 Thunderbolt, HDMI, SD card and the MagSafe port are more than sufficient. Now let's talk about something that surprised me very much using this laptop. That is the speakers. The speakers are one of the best speakers available in the laptop market straight up. They are pretty loud and have some good bass. But compared to the newer ones such as the M2 Pro and the M3 Pro, those have a little more bass to them and a little more sound. Now let's talk about the display. The display is simply great. HDR looks nice and the viewing angles are awesome. Added bonus for having ProMotion. The brightness is quite good too, maxing at around 1600 nits peak and 1000 nits sustained. One drawback with the display is that it has a small lamination layer over it. This lamination layer gets small indents of dust particle. The gap between the keyboard and the display is not that much. So even if you close it with a small dust particle in between the display and the keyboard, there are chances that it might damage the display lamination. The indents on mine are not that visible, but I have seen worst case scenarios. I've attached a link to a Reddit thread in the description. Now let's talk about the notch. The notch is not that distracting. I use an app called Top Notch. This completely blacks out the area around the notch and makes it invisible. Talking about the hinge, it feels pretty sturdy, but it is a little loose compared to the previous generations. And if you are planning to use a top cover for a MacBook, then please don't. I have seen the hinge getting loose because of that. Now let's talk about the input methods, that is the keyboard and the trackpad. The keyboard is great, the keycaps are perfectly sized, the travel is fine. The Touch ID on the keyboard is fast and has features like quick user switching. One problem with this keyboard is that it can get a bit messy with small dust particles stuck inside the keycaps. It's not a major problem, but you can feel the difference in typing. It can be prevented by using keyboard covers, but that is not recommended as it can easily damage the display and reduces the overall typing experience. Now let's talk about the trackpad. The trackpad has been great and the gestures work perfectly. I have not felt the need to use an external mouse with this. Now let's talk about battery and charging. The battery performs really well, generally lasts around 6 to 7 hours on normal use and above 10 on web streaming. But I have seen some people raise a problem with the battery health. Many people have gone below 90% battery health with less than 100 power cycles. But this might be a software bug as the battery works great and the numbers don't matter that much. Now let's talk about charging. It comes with a 67 watt charger in the box, but you can option it out up to a 96 watt charger. The 67 watt charger completely charge this device from 0 to 100 in about 1 to 1.5 hours. It can be charged using a MagSafe cable or even a Type-C cable. Talking about the camera and the mic, they both are really good. There are no complaints with both of these. Here are the camera and the mic samples.
Hello, this is the mic test from MacBook Pro 14-inch. As you can hear, it has very good voice separation and very good voice isolation.
The final and the most important segment, the performance. This thing is crazy fast. Anything I throw at it, let it be video editing, photo editing, or development, it will handle it very easily. It is more than powerful enough to handle 4K videos. Editing photos has been smooth and was no sweat for the GPU. The performance difference between this and the M2 Pro is approximately 20%. That is not that much. To compensate this, M1 Pro has a better SSD. As the M2 lineup of MacBooks had 50% soldered NAND, the SSD speeds have come down by 50%. So it overall makes not that much of a difference in day-to-day tasks. To conclude of this video, I would like to say the machine has been doing really well, and considering the price of these in the second-hand market, this is a good purchase. But due to the release of the M3 chips, the price of the M2 chips have come down a bit. So if you are looking for a MacBook that is approximately in this budget range, you might look for an M1 Pro or the M2 Pro. But if the difference between them is less than 20,000 or like $200 to $250, you might get the M2 Pro chip. Otherwise, the M1 models are really good and will be updated for 4 more years at least.